7:01, but I believe we do not have quorum, so we're going to wait for more trustees to arrive. I believe that. Miranda, yeah?
Yeah, so sorry. So Jesse just texted me. I think he was just wondering if we aren't going to start until 7:30 because of Trustee Corvalon. Can he just jump on at 7:30? Do you want to just do it that way and make a verbal statement that the meeting will start at 7:30?
Yeah, I think we can do that. If that's when Tanya suggested she would be able to be here by, because we won't have quorum until she's here anyway. So
Correct.
for Teresa and Barb, I see you're on the line, as well as town staff and Nicole. We're going to wait until 7:30, I think, to get the meeting started, because we do not have quorum otherwise.
And we can, I don't know if Trustee Coombs says, Mal, you're just going to hang out, but we can make that announcement as people jump on. Hi, Ron. I did just text Ron letting him know that the meeting won't start until 7:30 because we don't have quorum until that time.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Maybe I'll just put it in a Word document and throw it up here. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, Miranda, then I will hop back on at 7:30 as well.
Cool.
All right, thanks.
See you in a bit.
Hi, Nicole. Hi, Jesse.
Hi guys, I'm here.
Howdy.
We're just waiting on Trustee Corvallin, and then we can get started. Hi, Tanya.
Hey. All right, did it. I'm home. I think my phone is just too the data plan's not good enough or something. I don't know. It took forever and then it finally did log in, but it took like 5 minutes. So I think that's what it is. It happened to me at another meeting. Well, I appreciate it. Sorry.
Macy, Miranda, are you guys there?
I'm here.
Great. So it is 7:31 p.m. on September 19th. I think we can call this meeting of the Nederland Board of Trustees to order. Macy, would you please call the roll? You're very
Macy, we
quiet.
can't really hear you. I can't really hear you.
Trustee,
I can hear Eric.
I think it's Macy that we can't hear.
She was asking for Trustee Corvallin.
Oh, yes.
thank you. And Trustee Coombs Ismail,
Here.
Trustee Severs,
Here.
and Trustee Sterling.
Here.
Thank you.
Great.
Well, actually, I'm sorry. I'd like to note for the record that Mayor Billy, Mayor Pro Tem Mahold, and Trustee Mountain are all absent this evening.
Thank you, Macy. Thanks to all the hardworking folks in Nederland who are here with us tonight. There's a consent agenda before us. If anybody has any questions, now would be the time, or a motion.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve it.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Macy, can you call the roll, please?
Trustee Coombs Ismail,
Yes.
Trustee Severs,
Yes.
Trustee Sterling,
Yes.
and Trustee Corvallin.
Yes.
Thank you.
And thank you to Kristen Conrad for the public comment on non-agenda items that she wrote in. Is there any other public comment on non-agenda items this evening from anybody who is here with us tonight on this call?
Oh, Russ, don't hurt your hands.
Not hearing anything unless Teresa, you were trying to say something. Sounds like we have no public comment on non-agenda items, so we can move into staff reports. It is sad to hear that Mark Hall, street supervisor, did resign, but it is great to see that Josh Davis has stepped up and that Paige Carrillo has also joined the team. Miranda, is there anything that in particular that you wanted to call out from the staff reports this evening?
No, that was just in. So Josh was in a training today at Rocky Ford. So hope that he'll join us at a future meeting, but just obviously that transition. Josh has been with us for a little bit now and took the lead from Mark and plans to just keep Mark's plans going and hit the ground running. So very excited to have him. And then of course we're actively recruiting for his replacement since it created a vacancy within the streets. But otherwise, all of our reports are in the packet, minus Rita, because Rita is in Mexico, hopefully having the time of her life. And hopefully comes back to us. But so you'll get financials from Rita next month.
Great. Yeah, it was great to see how many grants seem to be coming in and how many grant opportunities are being pursued by members of town staff across the board. So always nice to see that money is being raised. Good job, team. Trustee reports, we have Mayor Billy's report that we can read. I have nothing to report. Trustee Corvallin, is there anything you wanted to add to your report? Trustee Severs, anything on your end that we should know about? And
In non-trustee matters, we took down Snyder's garage this past week, and we're still in the process of doing that site cleanup, and it's coming along nicely. Should be done in another day or two.
yeah, that's really great. I'm excited to see what happens with that lot. Trustee Sterling, anything you want to add to your extremely thorough report? Thank you for all the work that you're doing. It's kind of crazy to see.
Nope, nothing to add. It's all in there.
Great, thanks so much. And as I understand it, the informational item that we have on the agenda that Commissioner Levy was going to present on is being moved to the October 3rd meeting, so we can go ahead and skip that informational item. If you were here to hear about that, come back on October 3rd, where the Commissioner will be able to answer questions. And we can move right into our action items. We have 8.1 subdivision variance request process for the Wingate property. I believe that Attorney Madsen and Town Administrator Fisher are going to present this aid.
Yes, I will kick this off and Attorney Madsen jump in where needed. So tonight before you is a request for a process in the variance, a variance request for the subdivision process. So just a reminder, the town had entered into an agreement back in 2000 that there would be a transfer of Mary Wingate property to the town of Nederland. And this consisted of both gifted parcels as well as parcels that the town was purchasing. Unfortunately, Mary Wingate passed away in 2020, and in her will, she waived the town's requirement to continue to pay on the lease part, and in turn, those were all gifted to town. However, there's some complexities in that we determine in the records that these parcels were not all subdivided appropriately. So we need to go back and do a record change and actually do a subdivision in order to be able to truly transfer those parcels that were gifted to town over to us. What that would be, so there's again 3 parcels, and I put pictures in the packet, but those 3 parcels that will come to town. However, since we're already going to go through the subdivision process, we asked Lori Wingate, who is Mary's daughter, if she wanted to do any subdividing of the parcel she has. And ultimately, she decided she did want to divide out her parcel, which triggers a major subdivision because we have more than 4 parcels being divided. When you do a major subdivision, it's a much more complex process in terms of all the documentation that needs to be provided. But we really feel that this is a minor subdivision because the 3 parcels coming to town are all restricted. There's a conservation easement on all of those parcels, which means we can't develop them. We can only utilize them for recreational purposes. And of what Mary or Lori wants to keep, there's only 4 parcels there. So if you kind of broke them apart, they almost are minor subdivisions in and of themselves. So what we're asking the Board of Trustees tonight is to consider offering the town and Lori Wingate, because we're the applicants together, a variance so that we can run these parcels under a minor subdivision instead of a major subdivision. We did talk to the Planning Commission about this, and they unanimously supported that variance of bringing this back as a minor. And so that's the same request of you tonight. Couple things just to know in terms of the attachment. We wrote an official kind of town administrator analysis regarding why we feel this should be a minor subdivision. Also provided a draft preliminary plat, but I really want to note that that is not necessarily the map that's going to run through the subdivision process. It's just something for sake of being able to see how we anticipate these parcels being broken down. Wanted you to have that visual, but that is a draft itself. So still more work to be done on that. Attorney Madsen, anything I missed before I turn it back over to Trustee Coombs Ismail?
No, I would just touch on briefly. One thing is that the subdivision regulations provide a variance process or variance criteria. And that's laid out in the letter and I believe in the aim. And, I think Miranda and I would say that this particular request meets the criteria for a variance.
Thank you, Jennifer and Miranda. Now is the time for Board of Trustee questions to town staff. Nicole, Trustee Sterling, do you have any questions?
No, not at
Trustee
all.
Corvallin, any questions? Trustee Severs?
No questions for me.
I don't have any either, so I think we can open this to public comment. Is there any public comment on this action item? Go ahead and start speaking. Raise your hand. You can speak for 3 minutes. Not seeing any public comment on this, so we can bring it back to the board. Is there any discussion on this particular issue from any of us? Does anybody have a motion?
I move to approve the subdivision process variance pursuant to Nederland Municipal Code 17-111/Mary Wingate subdivision.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, Macy, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Sterling,
Yes.
Trustee Coombs Ismail,
Yes.
Trustee Severs,
Yes.
and Trustee Corvallon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Good job, team. We can move on to our second action item of the evening. 8.2, repealing ordinance 837, the rezone of 100 First Street. I believe that's also Administrator Fisher and Attorney Madsen presenting. Take it away, team.
So at your last meeting on September 5th, we had brought this before you. At the time, the board needed to give town staff direction on whether you wanted to repeal ordinance 837, which returns 100 First Street to its original zoning of high density residential, or if you wanted to send the ordinance to an election. The Board of Trustees gave a nod of 4, directing staff to work with the town attorney to draft an ordinance to repeal the rezone for 100 First Street, which again, the effect of that is for it to remain high density residential. The owner of the property, Ronald Mitchell, does support this decision. It is important to note that he intends and is currently getting public feedback on his redevelopment plan for all of the downtown. And so he does intend to run a preliminary PUD application at some point that would include 100 First Street, which is why he was comfortable with it going back to high density residential, because he'd like to have a conversation about that being paid parking, and this kind of opens up the doors to do so. So Attorney Madsen did draft the ordinance that is before you, and the question is, does the board approve ordinance 848, repealing the rezone for 100 First Street under ordinance 837?
And did you have anything to add to that, Attorney Madsen?
No, I do not. That covers it all.
Great. Trustee Severs, any questions?
No.
Trustee Corvallin?
No.
Trustee Sterling?
Nope.
No questions from me either. Now's the time for public comment. You may speak, anyone in the room may speak for 3 minutes. Just start talking, raise your hand, come off mute, whatever you need to do. You can make public comment now. Not seeing anything, so I think we can bring it back to the board, and I do very much appreciate the attachment here from Mr. Mitchell explaining his reasoning behind this, so I think that's very helpful. Does anybody have any discussion on this matter or a motion?
I move to approve ordinance 848, repealing the rezone for 100 First Street.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. There is no further discussion. Macy, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Coombs Ismail,
Yes.
Trustee Severs,
Yes.
Trustee Sterling,
Yes.
and Trustee Corvalon.
You're on mute, Tanya.
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion passes, and I think we can move on to our discussion items for the evening. We have one discussion item, which is municipal code edition for parking. And I believe that Miranda and our community planner, Britt Demink, are going to be presenting on this.
Yeah, I'm just going to take them all real quick. So we've been talking about parking, obviously, for a very long time, and I do understand maybe to a point of exhaustion. Last time we talked about parking, we had discussed paid parking in town-owned lots. The trustees budgeted for that. The understanding was when we paved the visitor center, we would convert to paid parking. However, in discussing with Attorney Madsen, really recognized that there truly needs to be code language. And I know we've talked about this before, that the use table should indicate where parking is an allowed use. And we're really missing that at this time. And that there's also a recommendation to consider kind of uniformity in terms of language for paid parking. We don't want town to implement a certain paid parking system and then 2 blocks away, we've got a private owner who does something entirely different. So there's a desire to really develop code language that has consistency so that no matter where you go in town, when there is paid parking, there are rules and regulations surrounding how that is to be implemented and managed. So we're just asking for kind of the board's blessing, green light, that not a 4, that it's okay to start working on this as town staff alongside Attorney Madsen. And we actually are recommending that you kick this back to the Planning Commission so they can form a subcommittee. The plan is to have Vice Chair Reese and Commissioner Glasser serve on it since they've already been studying parking for the last couple of years. And they would come back to the board with recommended use group table on what zones is it allowed in, as well as that code language for paid parking. So again, tonight we're just looking for a nod of 4 that yes, you feel like this is a good space for a town and Planning Commission and Attorney Madsen to work on, and that you give us the green light to continue forward.
Thank you, Miranda. And Britt is here, and in case you want to chime in, feel free to do so. Britt, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Before we go to public comment, can we quickly determine whether or not we have any questions for Miranda or Britt? Jesse, Tanya, Nicole, any questions for our town staff here?
No, I agree that this has to be done first.
And we do think it should be quick. Like, I don't see this like kicking to the Planning Commission and being months on end before we come back. Jim and Linda are ready to hit the ground running, do some quick work, and bring it back to the board for consideration.
Okay.
Great. And I would love to hear from any members of the public who are on this call who might have something to say on paid parking or on parking in general in the Nederland Municipal Code. Does anybody out there have a comment to make? And come off mute and just start talking, raise your hand.
Want to talk, Ron? Yes, I'm just pleased that you're moving forward. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ron. Thank you, Teresa. All right, we'll bring it back to the board. Do we have any further discussion on this? I'm happy to see this. I've been wanting it a long time. I would love to see parking get on those use group tables and start kind of feeling out where it makes the most sense to add parking in the NMC. I also do think it would be looking into standardizing paid parking practices across town. It would be a real pain if you needed to download 3 or 4 different apps just to park in different areas in Netherlands. So making sure that there's a way that we can manage that's amenable to everybody. Any other thoughts on this from trustees? Trustee Sievers, I saw you come off of video mute.
Yeah, good, very perceptive of you, Mr. Facilitator. The only thing I was thinking of, I don't think my comment is really relevant. But I don't know, just throughout the whole process of developing our parking language and code, just keep it in the back of our mind, multimodal, and just kind of how we're solving for parking and vehicle management, also by encouraging multimodal transportation methods. I don't know that it's the time or the place for just figuring out our code for standardization of page language. That's why I put myself back on mute. I don't know if it's relevant. Just wanted to kind of make sure that's continuing to be part of our thoughts moving forward in all this, the comprehensive view.
I think that's very much worth remembering when we're determining whether or not to put parking in a use group table for a particular kind of zone. I think we should also be thinking of whether or not we can actually get people to those parking lots using other forms of transportation. So I think that's very much worth keeping in the back of our minds, or maybe even in the front.
Well, and with the results of the multimodal plan that will come out next year, I'm sure that there'll be continued changes that we're going to want to make anyway.
Yeah, I think this will just be the start.
Yep.
Super
All
happy
right.
that Miranda is proposing to move this forward, so full in support.
So I think town staff need a nod of 4 on this. If we could just maybe go around and say an affirmative nod. Trustee Sterling,
Affirmative nod.
Trustee Corvallin,
Yes.
Trustee Severs,
Nodding off. Just kidding.
and I also nod. So I think that's 4 of us. You guys got what you needed, and can't wait to see what you do with it. And thanks to Jim Reese for constantly taking on the task of parking. It's thankless and never ending, but he does a great job. All right, that does it for our discussion items for the evening. Is there any other business? Or maybe a motion?
I'd like to just offer a real quick observation, and then it's not other business, but I just wanted to give compliments to our town. I was down at cleaning up the Snyder's garage lot on Sunday, and the farmers market was doing its thing. It was a quiet market in the grand scheme of things for farmers, how farmers markets go, but it just seemed like a bustling town, and people were happy, and there was live music, and the sun was shining, and it was a gorgeous fall day, and I was just, feeling really grateful for the town, and just feeling like there's a vitality there, and just really, really proud of the farmers market in our little community that we have here. So, yeah, I just thought I'd share.
Hear, hear.
Thanks.
How about that motion?
Oh. Motion to adjourn?
That's the one. Second.
We have a motion and a
3 minutes,
second.
Eric.
Macy, would you please call the roll?
Amazing.
Trustee Corvalon.
Who did
Was
she
that
say?
mine?
That was Trustee Corkle.
Corvalon.
Yeah.
Sorry, you guys. I don't know why this is going on.
You sound like you're in a tunnel.
Trustee Sterling.
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Severs.
Yes.
And Trustee Coombs Ismail.
Yes.
Okay. 7:53 p.m. We're adjourned.
Well, that's all right. That's all right.
That's crazy. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for waiting
Thanks,
for me.
everybody. Thanks for coming,
Bye.
Tanya.
Thanks.